There's wheat germ agglutinin, which is another large complex protein that's completely impervious to human digestion. And it is a highly potent bowel toxin, very potent.
Okay.
If I purify a milligram and give it to a rat, its intestinal tract is destroyed. The average American who eats lots of healthy whole grains gets 10 to 20 milligrams per day of wheat germ agglutinin, a potent bowel toxin. And there's many other components. So what I try to stress is that wheat and related seeds of grasses, rye, barley, and corn are the closest, are complete packages of human poisons.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with grass. I love a nice grassy lawn. I love a field of grass. There's nothing wrong with grass. The only problem comes when you try to eat them. So I tell people, imagine you're starving and you haven't had anything to eat for 3 weeks. And then you stumble on a big wheat field, acres and acres and acres of wheat. Few people would say, hallelujah, I'm going to eat like a king. Because more than likely you would starve in the midst of what could be regarded as plenty, because the seeds of grasses were a mistake made in relatively recent human history. You know, if we one way to get your arms around this is to encapsulate all of human history into a 24-hour day. If we did that, if human life on Earth was 24 hours long, we added grains at 11:54 p.m. We added it just a moment ago. Insufficient time to adapt. And so, you know, maybe given another 100,000 years, we might be able to eat grains and get away with it. But right now, after just a handful of thousands of years, 300 generations of consuming wheat and grains, we haven't adapted. And of course, the whole situation has been made worse by agribusiness, who has changed the grains, introduced all kinds of peculiar changes in the grains, and took a problem food and made it
made it worse.
Made it much worse. But you know, I'm grateful, Dr. Masley, because it made it easy to put two and two together. Because when you take out traditional forms of wheat, people do get a lot healthier. But when you take modern high-yield semi-dwarf wheat, the thing created in the laboratory that stands 18 inches
genetically modified wheat, which is about the only form of wheat we have left in North America.
When you take that out of people's diets, that's where you see incredible, astounding, jaw-dropping changes in health. And that's why, you know, when I did it for purposes of getting rid of small LDL particles, and people would come back and say, well, you know, I did it and my small LDL is better, but why did I become non-diabetic? And why did my eczema go away? Why did my acid reflux go away? All that.
Well, listen to your story is very interesting for me, because I've been mostly in my practice using carotid IMT and measuring plaque for years. And I would notice some people would eat right, they'd exercise, but they couldn't lose weight. I couldn't get their blood sugars down. I would do like a Cyrex lab and test them for gluten sensitivity. If they were positive, they gave it up. I could see up to a 10% drop in their carotid IMT plaque score in 1 year. I mean, dramatic. They would lose weight, their blood sugar went normal, and their plaque shrunk. So it just surprised me. It was like, wow. And I've seen that over and over. And it sounds like you had a very similar experience using chest CT heart scans and looking at that.
Yeah. You know, 20 years ago, when you saw somebody's, you know, Tim Russert, remember poor Tim Russert on TV?
Yes, I did normal treadmill test, and then like a week later, dropped dead.
Right, exactly right. Well, he had a heart scan. I don't know if you recall that part of his history. He had a heart scan score about 5 years earlier. His score was 550. And his doctor told him, don't worry about it. You're fine, aren't you? You feel good. Let's do a stress test. Now, of course, he passed it, gave him a statin drug, blood pressure medicine, and told him to exercise. Well, if you do the math, you know, if you allow those calcium scores to increase at the expected rate of 25 to 30%, I calculated way back then that at the moment of his death, his score was about 1,800. And we know that the event rate at scores above 1,000 is about 15 to 20% per year. So that poor guy's life was written, the stage was set, and his doctor didn't do enough about it. And the tragedy is, you know, the things you and I are talking about, we're not talking about nasty robotic surgery and open heart. We're talking about vitamin D and not eating biscuits and taking fish oil. We're talking about some deceptively simple, benign, do it yourself at home strategies. Right. But you know what? That's what I love. I love the idea of people taking on things that have incredible power that you can largely manage on your own and not with a hospital or an operating room.
So clearly the grains are out, especially wheat.